Welcome to the Ultimate Starter House tutorial. This is an early game starter house that uses just components from the Andesite age of the Create mod, so that means no need to go to the nether, no need for blaze burners, no need for anything advanced. This is a starter house. This house has everything you need, ranging from your standard Minecraft utility blocks like an enchanting table, anvil, grindstone, smithing table, whatever. It has power generation, and on the inside a bunch of Create mod components. That includes quality of life things like a mixing, pressing, compacting, and sawing station, as well as a Create 6 storage system, and a fan system for smelting, haunting, washing, and smoking. There is also a small tucked away staircase leading up to the second floor, which houses most of the kind of homely aspects. We have our bed up here, as well as a fireplace and item vault, so let's see it all in the video. So hello and welcome to the Andesite Age Starter House. If you're not really sure what I mean by that, it's basically early game starter house for Create mod. I posted a ultimate kind of starter warehouse for Create mod a couple of months ago, and the biggest complaint was that it was using brass components, so it wasn't really a starter house. In this one though, we are not using anything from post nether exploration, so that includes things like brass or blaze burners or a bunch of other stuff. This is pretty much the bare bones starter house that you can get that is Create mod integrated and will make your life a whole ton easier if you're new to the mod or a seasoned veteran. I've already kind of walked you through what is around this house and the insides in that intro there, but let's get into the actual kind of tour of the house. So the first level here is pretty much just Create mod machines. The interior is very functional. I try to make it look good, but I'm no builder. I'm the machine guy, so the machines are cool. And then up here we have, again, tried to make it look cool, a very tight space and almost a full-sized item vault that you could store a bunch of items in. This is all being powered outside here with our 2 water wheels. If you're unfamiliar how stress unit generation works, make sure you have these things called engineer's goggles. If you put them on your head, you'll be able to see these infographics telling you how much stress units things either require or generate. Large water wheels generate 512, and we have 2 of them, so we're generating around 1,000 stress units. The rest of the outside are other functional blocks or decoration bits, including a little farm, a little pen for animals, and of course our entrance. Heading inside, we have our factories. I'm gonna get to our cow who's sitting here last. But looking over on this side, we have a few different things that I want to go over. So let's go over our first and probably simplest, our fanning system. We have 4 different fanning modules here, each doing a different thing. So one is for lava or blast smelting. The next one is smoking, then washing, then haunting. I do want to note though, for haunting specifically, obviously it requires a soul campfire, unless you have other mods of course, which does mean you need to go to the nether to make this one. I thought it would be best to include it anyway, because I mean, if you go to the nether and grab a soul soil and come back, you could build this, and if you don't want to do that, you could just leave this empty and it'll work just as well. In order to use these fans, all you need to do is put the item that you want to smelt, cook, wash, or haunt up in the top barrel above the associated fan. So let's say we wanted to cook sand into glass. All we have to do is put it in the barrel up top there. We could do the same with raw beef for smoking, and you can see it'll drop out and eventually turn into the item that we need. In order to pick them up, all we'll have to do is walk in front of these trapdoors, and there we go. Our items are obtained. I'm using oxidized trapdoors here. We just need a non-flammable one. There are these glass trapdoors built into Create that you could use instead if you wish, but I think the copper looks pretty cool. Next up is our sawing module. This is a kind of a fun one because saws can be used to craft more shafts per andesite alloy than the standard crafting recipe. In the standard crafting recipe, you can say 2 andesite alloy gives you 8 shafts, but using the saw, 1 gives you 6. So it's 50% better or so. So it's really useful to have. You can also use it for stripping logs. This does have double functionality, however. If we remove our saw, you can see that there's a spinny boy underneath. That is so that we can power things like a millstone in the saw's place. The reason I'm doing this is because if let's just try to hook up another millstone. I can't do that. So give me a saw. Let's hook up a saw here. We're overstressed. So we do need to cut some corners to get everything to power properly, but it's really not that hard to switch them out. And once we rotate it back to the correct direction, we can pop our saw back in. The saw and millstone both work in the same way. The saw a little bit cleaner since you can, why does it always put it upside down? Since you can saw the item and it'll go straight into the barrel. Unfortunately for the millstone, it doesn't do that, but all of the items that are milled, if we get an open spot in our inventory, once this mills, we can just right click it to grab the item out. So it's really not too terrible. And honestly, even after building this, I would try your best to get crushing wheels as soon as possible, because those those are the best things in the game. Moving on now to our kind of corner of mixers and presses. This is a little bit of a compact system for what we have here, but I think it turned out really well. What we have here is a space for pressing things like ingots or whatever else you want to press. But if we pick this up, we can replace our depot with this basin that I've put back here, switch those two around, and then also use it for compacting using the same mechanical press. So this is super useful if you need to compact like blocks of iron or blocks of gold, I guess. Just really anything, and then you can go ahead and switch it back whenever you need to press something into a sheet or whatever else. We then have a mixer right next to it, and this has two pretty interesting functions here. So there are some other mods that require items to be drained to produce certain resources. I think the best use case for this is lava buckets, since this is built into the game. If, let's say, we put a lava bucket in here, it will drain it out, and oh, look at that! It'll pump it straight in. Yes, I know I'm so smart. You don't need to tell me. But yeah, we have a super simple system here to get lava into this basin. You can do stacks on stacks of it so that you can automate mixing of something that requires lava as well. It is really nice and really simple. Oh boy, I broke something. That's not great. And you might be asking yourself, oh man, that sucks. I have to put in buckets of water in there if I want to get water in my basin? No, silly. I'm too smart to not have a plan for this. And it might be a little bit silly, but let's break and replace this so that it's empty. If we break our item drain, infinite water source. Holy cow, I'm so smart. Please like and subscribe. I need views. I'm in crippling medical debt. Okay, we can place that back. It's gone back to just the drain, pumping it out. Really nice, really simple. And water doesn't flow everywhere because we have our fancy trapdoors here. That is all of the modules on this first floor other than our storage system. Our storage system uses Create 6. I keep saying it's new. It's almost a year old, so maybe not new, but this is super nice. What we can do is let's just put in our whole inventory, flick this button. It's already marked for storage. You, sir, are broken. Uh-oh. You know what? This is a known, I don't know if it's a bug, but it's a known stupid about the Create mod. We need to replace our frog ports whenever we do anything, and I totally forgot to do this when I was setting up the build. So you're gonna do it with me. Storage is up here. I mean, obviously, there's a storage system. And then we name that one. Oh, and we can already see packages are going up. They're getting eaten, and now they're in our item vault if we hover over it. Super nice. I also have thrown in an item hatch here so you can empty out your inventory that way if you wish. Let's just grab a few stacks of depots. I think it's shift right click to drop all of that in there. Sweet. Now we can head back down here, and if we click on our cow, you can see we have our storage here. So if I want to get these, all we have to do, request all of these depots to our access point, turn off this lever because that's to send out. We should see, oh, our package is arriving. It's a little bit slow, but there we go. We have our depots, and we can do the same thing to send it back out. Just a quick lever on, and we are done. That is all the functionality we have in this build. That's all the functionality you can kind of really do with just andesite age components. Things like more automated stuff kind of requires the brass age, at least to be properly useful. You can obviously set some certain things up with belts and such, but I didn't think it was worth the space investment. But I suppose let's go talk about that. So my goal for this build was to make it quite a bit smaller than my ultimate starter house build that I made a couple of months ago. And I suppose let's get a comparison here. So I think I have, yes, the schematic to our andesite age build, and you can see the size difference in these two. I did make this so that it is still compatible with the ultimate starter house in terms of looks. It's still the same theme, same genre, but it is quite a bit smaller. I mean, it's a starter house. It's the starter to the starter house. So yeah, it's quite a bit smaller. The goal was to shrink this thing a lot, make it a lot smaller, and still plenty useful and functional. The rest of this build is pretty much just for looks. It's to make it not look stupid in your world so that you don't get yelled at by all the other people that you're playing with, that you only build like lawn bases, I think is what Charlie Delta calls them, where you just have bits scattered around on the ground. This actually looks good. It's super functional. And I guess if you're interested in building it, we can get started right about now. If you want to use the schematic, we're going to go over that first. For everyone that wants to just build it with the block by block tutorial and potentially learn some building building techniques that I use to make this build look kind of cool. You can skip to the timestamp on the screen, but for right now, we're going to go over how to set up the schematic, how to paste it into your world. So I guess let's get straight into it. For schematic setup, you're going to need to go down to the link in the description where I've listed out the schematic, download the schematic from there, and then in your Minecraft world, you're going to need to get a schematic table and a schematic cannon, preferably placed near where you're planning on building the schematic. Once you have the schematic table set up, you're going to want to open this folder. That'll open the folder on whatever operating system you're using. Just drag and drop the downloaded NBT file into this folder, and then click the refresh files button. Once you've done that, you can load in a schematic item into this item slot here, and then scroll to the, what is it called? Create 6 starter house. Click the check mark there and let it upload into the schematic file. Once that's done, you should have your schematic file here, and just by right clicking, you should be able to place it into the world. From here, you're gonna need to orient it and move it. Shift and scrolling will move it in whatever direction you're looking at. Scroll away from you to move it away. Scroll towards you to move it towards you. You can hold left alt by default, but you can change this key binding to switch between moving between the x-axis and y-axis, etc., etc. If you're really new to using schematics, I would look up a dedicated tutorial if you want to do something that you don't know how to do. Once you have it in the place that you want it though, you're going to need to put it in your schematic cannon. Once it's in here, what you can do is get a material list. There will be one in the description, but in case you like checking stuff off and going through, that's a good way to do it. But these are all the materials that you're going to need to grab. You do need a soul campfire in the schematic. This is not a required block, but if you don't want it, we're going to need to change some of the configs in the schematic cannon later. So just make sure you're aware. If you don't want certain things, you don't need to include them, but we will need to change some stuff. To put items that you need into the schematic cannon's inventory, all you need to do is place an inventory block, whether it be a chest, barrel, backpack, item vault, whatever you want, into here, and then put the items that you need in there. Once those items are in, you should material checklist. Let's pretend that we put in some items. You will see at the end of the pages here that they have been checked off like so. And that's when you know that certain things have been accounted for. And moving on to placement, we do need to supply the schematic cannon with some gunpowder, and then let's do the configs. So what I would recommend, make sure you're building it in an area that doesn't have any blocks. Ground is fine. If you want the ground removed, that's also fine. And then you can replace solid with any. And if you have, let's grab the schematic so I can show you. If you have your schematic partially in the ground, like what I have here where we have grass in the way of stuff, and we don't want that, let's say, all we would need to do is put this in here and set it to replace solid with empty. Pretty self-explanatory. We have air blocks in our schematic. It will replace solid blocks with those empty ones. The last thing we need to do, if you don't want to put in any items into the storage for whatever reason, whether it be that soul campfire that I mentioned, you'll just need to click skip missing blocks. Once that's done, click play. This is going to work way faster than yours. I've upped the speed by 10 times just so that I don't have to sit here for 30 minutes. By default, it won't be this quick. And as you can see, still pretty darn slow. So it's definitely gonna take a while, but once this is done, we can get back and I can show you how to set up the farm. So our house is built in now, and now we have to set it up. Obviously, you probably won't wanna place it in the spot that I did, but if you put it in a stupid spot, you should probably do a little bit of terraining on the outside and make sure there's no like weird holes or stupid walls. But let's pretend that you put it in a good spot, and let's just get straight into setting up the build. I have a little pen here for animals if you want to keep those. You obviously don't have to, but it looks a little bit sad when it's all empty. So I'd put animals in there. We also need to waterlog some stuff, mostly for our crops to survive. So you need to waterlog this stair block here, which you can then see will start hydrating our crops. I think there is one more spot that we're going to need to waterlog that. It's not even waterlogging, it's just place blocks there. And then these things should start spinning, which is, how can I, words, which is exactly what we want. I'm turning into Miss Rachel now. Hey everyone, welcome in to our brand new thing. We also need a lava bucket. You're gonna put lava here, stand out of the way, because if you don't, you're gonna take fire damage. Oh, and get hurt. Yeah, don't do that. You're gonna place water here, and then of course, if you don't have your soul campfire, that won't show up there and water will flow over, so I guess you'll have 2 washing spots. It honestly doesn't matter at all. The next thing we need to do is waterlog some stuff over here. So what I'm gonna do is break this, and this shouldn't be a spruce plank. Why is this a spruce plank? I don't know. We'll delete that if it's there. It shouldn't be. And then, oh, I waterlogged the wrong thing. Oh, shoot. Oh, darn it. Okay, you're gonna waterlog. No. Oh, why is this so challenging? Right there. There we go. this block where the block that I broke was, and then also this one, so it creates an infinite water source here. You can then replace your drain and close those up. All right, I think the last thing we need to do is break and replace our frog ports, and oh, I guess it doesn't do chains. That's good to know. You're gonna need to grab, I think it's like 8 chain blocks or items or something, and connect it up to this chain conveyor up here. You're also going to need to do some quick renovations and break this frog port as well. All right, so you should have 2 frog ports in your inventory. The first one you're gonna place on this chain conveyor here, or at least connect it to it, and then place it on top of our frog port, and we're gonna name this storage. We're then going to block that back off because it looks ugly and is stupid, and jump back down here where we can put in our access point one. So we're just going to connect this up to that chain conveyor and name it access point. From there, we should see on our clipboard these things are already named, and oh, we don't have a guy. No worries, you need to get an animal. The best way to do this is with a lead, and yeah, let's grab this pig. I'm pretty confident it can be any animal. I don't know what's going on. I really can't speak today, and I'm so sorry. You have to listen to me. But I gotta make the video, so... Alright, Piggy. Oh, don't die. Oh, he's so dead. Oh, nice. I saved him. Okay, Piggy, this way. And hopefully, once we get him through the door... You might need to break the door. Get in, and then on the seat. On the seat. This is the hardest part. On the seat. Yes, he gets a little hat. That's how you know it works. And if you right click him, you should see items in your storage. So this is because I have the same stock link connected to this one here. You're not going to see this being full, but let's say you put stuff in it. Let's put in a stack of glass and flick this lever. We should see that go up there, and in a second, glass show up right there. There we go. So that's how you know that is working. And I think that's everything. Obviously, you can replace this saw with a millstone whenever you need to millstone stuff. And yeah, everything should be good. That's how you set up the schematic. Now it's time to get into the block by block tutorial. The ingredient list is going to be found in the description of this video, so if you want the ingredient list before you start building, which I would recommend, check there. We're going to start by laying out the kind of footprint of the house. So for the inside of the house, we're actually going to lay out a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 block wide area that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blocks long. And then we're going to fill it all in. So just as a reminder, this is 5 by 8 long. And even though this is 8 blocks long, I'm still building it in the same orientation as what you can see here, which is actually wider than this way. So we're building it. Okay, so now that you hopefully have the right orientation with which we're building this, it's literally the same as this. So we're facing this way. That is going to be the back side of the house. We're building a 5 by 8. From there, you're going to go over to the front right side of the house and break these 3 front blocks and place 3 more andesite bits there. And then you're going to go to what was the middle of the 5 block, break a block, place a andesite block there. As our final little modification, we're going to go to the back left and break the 4 polished andesite blocks there. And you should have, now it's not as nice of a rectangle, but it is still kind of a rectangle that looks like this. Once we have that in, we're going to get in our first bits of create stuff that will be powering a lot of our other machines. So we're going to be placing in a cogwheel facing this direction, so kind of towards the back bit of the house. And then we're going to place an andesite encased cogwheel on that. This will eventually be for powering our mechanical pump. I'm a little bit later in the tutorial here, but one thing I forgot to do, make sure you right click this andesite encased cogwheel with a wrench to make sure the shaft is facing outwards. Otherwise, it won't be powered once we connect it to power. Right next to it, we're going to place a cogwheel like this, and then a large cogwheel diagonally across from it that will eventually hook up to our water wheels and such. From here, we're actually going to place 2 more cogwheels connecting up to a gearbox. This one needs to be a vertical gearbox into another normal gearbox. This is basically routing our power from this large cogwheel over here all the way around here into this gearbox. From there, we can place in 2 shafts and another gearbox, and then I'm going to place 2 andesite casings around those shafts just to make it look a little bit better. From there, we're going to place in 2 more shafts and then an encased chain drive that we can rotate around, so it looks a little bit weird. This is a part of the game, and I still don't understand why. But basically, this will spin powering this one. And then over on this side, we're going to place another encased chain drive, and actually we need to break these 2 polished andesite blocks and give ourselves another encased chain drive next to it. From there, we place a vertical gearbox right here, which will power our millstone and this one our saw, so that we can place both of them in the same spot. We're going to continue this line here with 3 more shafts into a vertical gearbox that goes into an encased chain drive that then rotates again and goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more blocks until you reach this point here, which is going to be for all of our fans. What we can do on these blocks is remove them if you have them and replace a 2x4 area here with andesite casing. The reason for this is because we're going to have lava on I think it's this block here, and if we have flammable things like wood, which is going to be a lot of our walls, this will burn. And I think it looks better here to have this all encased with wood-like blocks, so that's why I didn't do polished andesite. So once we have this in, let's actually get in our encased fans. These are going to be obviously blowing all of our different items and stuff. Now we can move back over to our cogwheels. I want to get in our power generation, at least the water wheels, right now. So what we're going to do on top of this large cogwheel is place a normal cogwheel and a large cogwheel kind of powering that one. We're going to place a normal cogwheel on top of this large cogwheel and then right click this with an andesite casing to make it an andesite encased large cogwheel. We're then going to place andesite casing around this cogwheel to make sure that the top is not connected. So it's not like this, it's instead like this. Then we're going to place a large cogwheel on top of this one. From this cogwheel here, we're going to place in another vertical gearbox, and on this side is where we're going to place our water wheels. So grab your 2 large water wheels, place one in a shaft and then the other one, and then place an andesite casing around that shaft in the middle there. We'll get to decorating this later, but we have our 2 water wheels in. Once we have our water wheels in, let's build the foundation of our house. I've already laid it out here, but let's go over it in a little bit more detail. We're going to go over from the front left-hand corner of our polished andesite over 2 blocks to the left and backwards 1, and place our exterior blocks. We are going to be using a combination of granite, polished granite, and bricks for this build, and it's going to be a sort of gradient that goes from our darkest brick color all the way to granite. You usually want the dark color at the bottom to kind of draw your eyes upward, so we're going to be using a lot of bricks down at the bottom and then slowly transition into the granite. So yes, over left 2 and back 1 for our brick block. And then we're going to place in an oak log right behind that brick block there. We're then going to go over from this brick block here, 9 additional blocks, placing in a variation of brick and polished granite, leaving space on this polished andesite block, because that's where our doorway is, all the way to the end here. And you should see 3 blocks on the left-hand side of our doorway, and 5 on the right-hand side of our doorway. At the end of our polished granite here, we're going to place in another oak log. We're going to do the same thing over on this side, so just fill in the gaps between our oak log and our encased chain drives all the way along here until you reach the end of the encased chain drives where you can place in another oak log. We're going to do the same thing with bricks here, going from our encased chain drive all the way to our next encased chain drive here. It should be 4 blocks in total. And then we're going to do the same thing over on the other side, another 4 blocks until you reach the end where I've just put a polished granite bit. Again, it doesn't need to be exact, and then an oak log over on this side as well. So you should have something that looks pretty much like this. The last thing we need to do is connect this up back to our starting point. So just build blocks all the way along, throw in a couple bits of polished granite, and there we go. The base of our build is done. Now though, we need to build this up 4 more times in total. So ideally, we're going to want to go from our brick, switching over to our polished granite, all the way to our standard granite once we get to the very top here. So you should have a gradient that looks similar to this all the way around the build. And of course, I'll time-lapse me building it so that you can get it kind of just, if you want to copy me, slowing it down to 0.25 speed or whatever. But honestly, it kind of doesn't matter. Let's look back over at the finished house just to show you. It's a lot of blocks. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot of gradienting. You could notice I've used a lot of bricks up in the bottom 2 layers and then mostly granite up in the top 3. But again, it doesn't really matter. This looks just as good as what I have over here where I am using slightly more brick, still keeping it to the bottom 2 layers. But then at the top here, we're doing mostly granite. And you want it to be, as I mentioned, 5 blocks in total. We're going to be building 4 more layers here. And we're just doing the outside. You can mirror our, let's grab our oak logs, mirror those along so that they're all 5 blocks tall. But yeah, let's get in our walls. And from there, we can move on to probably some of the more fun stuff. So yeah, I'm just gonna reiterate here. The goal is to get a slight gradient from brick all the way up to granite using the polished granite as a sort of middleman. Once you've built that up, you should see something that looks quite a bit like this, a granite box that it honestly looks a little stupid. This is good. You're at a good point. And now we're going to work on windows, a little bit of the interior, and then after that, we'll jump back to the exterior. So one thing I want to do is break out a window here that is over on the front side, one away from the right side wall, and I want it to be a 2x3 tall. Easy peasy there. We're going to eventually get a staircase going up and it'll look pretty cool in here. The next window I want to do is going to be easier to do once we've done the interior, so let's get straight into that. The first step is going to be placing in our interior walls. So this is going to be spruce planks, kind of wherever we can fit it over on this side, up until I think right there. From here, we're going to get in our sawing machine, so we can't place walls there. We're going to do the same thing over on our fan side and place andesite casings here, because again, we can't have flammable wood here since our lava source is going right on this block here. Next, we're going to get in our trapdoors for our fan system. We're going to place in 4 whatever non-flammable trapdoors you want to use. I'm using copper trapdoors. It doesn't have to be oxidized. It doesn't have to be copper. It just has to be non-flammable and powered up like you see here, so that you can still walk in front of the fans and not get blasted by them. Then we're going to make a little L shape with polished andesite like so. These are not really that important. You can switch them out with andesite casings if you wish. It's kind of just to fill in the space. You're only going to really see this block here. I'm going to use andesite casing for this. In my original build, I used polished andesite, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. We're then going to grab a stripped spruce log and build 7 in this spot here to kind of connect up our trapdoors and andesite casings or polished andesite, and it should be 7 blocks tall. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we're going to get in our spruce blocks. This is again our interior wall over here. And we're going to frame out this window here. So we're going to do 4 spruce planks, ending with a spruce stair that should be right at our doorway here. Then we're going to place in a spruce trapdoor that is flipped upward to kind of create a little curved texture there. We're going to place spruce planks, stairs here facing either direction, and then spruce planks on the other side there. And this should create kind of a bold shaped bottom of your window. We're going to do more spruce trapdoors on either side here. Again, with some spruce planks on either side. And then, one more bit of spruce planks over there, spruce stair, and the same thing over here. So you should have a little circular thing that looks like this. I'm going to get rid of that pillar just so you can see what we're looking at here. But it is spruce planks all the way up the left and right side of our window here. And we're using stairs and trapdoors to make it circular. Now for our doorway, we're going to place in 2 more stairs over here that kind of frame that out. And then we're going to place in spruce planks all the way along here. Next, we need to get in this wall of spruce and litter it with cogwheels, basically. So we're going to be placing in spruce, kind of just filling in this corner here. And then we can get in some more blocks here. So what I'm going to do is put an andesite casing around this large cogwheel to make it an andesite encased large cogwheel. We can remove this spruce planks block because that's where our water source is going to be, at least one of them. And if you wish, you won't see this anyway, but if you want to, you can replace that dirt block or whatever block. If you don't have a block there, put a block there. But it can be whatever you want. I'm going to replace it with some polished andesite, and I'm also going to place andesite casings around this cogwheel. And then over on this cogwheel, we're going to place in another cogwheel that then turns into a little L shape here. Once we have that, we're going to put andesite casing around this and this one, and then we're going to place in a vertical gearbox here and another cogwheel. You can then andesite encase both of those, and why not this one? We should have a lot of our setup in now, so we should just be able to fill in the rest with spruce planks, leaving, again, this block empty since that's where our water is going to go. We're going to place in spruce planks all the way along here, just filling in this entire area up until this point here. Now is a good time to get in our sawing system. This is also our millstoning system. So what I'm going to do is place in a saw here and flip it into the right spot so that it can be connected. If you're confused about how to do that, right-clicking the top with a wrench will rotate it around. The sides will rotate it around the sides, and yeah, the same is true for the other side. Going into the mechanical saw, on the left-hand side is going to be a hopper. We're going to put a barrel on top, and then we're going to come over to the other side and place a barrel over on this side. Andesite funnel, if I shift right-click it, it'll be going inward, but If it's facing outward, you could just right click it with a wrench and it'll go the correct way. Now we do have just an empty block here. I'm going to put a smithing table there. You can put whatever you'd like if you have a different functional block that you'd like to put there, like actually a millstone, just so that you can easily hot swap between the two. Then you can do that. And I think I'm going to do that. That was a good idea. Good thing I'm smart. I'm also onto this barrel going to put a sign for sawing and millstone. Yeah, that's spot on. How did it do that? I don't know. Usually you have to type that in. I don't know what happened. But there we go. We have our sawing and millstone in. Now let's get in our mixing and pressing system. So I'm going to place a basin there just for storage purposes and a depot in front of it. To the left of the depot, we're placing in another basin with a mixer on top that should line up exactly with this cogwheel. To the right of the mixer, we're going to place a mechanical press that should again line up with the depot with a 1 block gap in between. On the back side of this basin, we're going to place in a fluid pipe. It might want to connect to that basin over there. So if it does do that, just break this basin. And then we're going to put in a mechanical pump with the arrows facing towards our fluid pipe here. Again, I just faced this way and shift right clicked. It should do it for you. If it doesn't, right click with a wrench and then grab yourself a copper casing and right click our pipe with that. And that will hold its structure even if we break this basin here, as you can see. Then we're going to place back in our basin back there so that it is no longer connected, and this should still be working here. Next, I'm going to want to place in an item drain with a hopper going into it and a barrel on top of it. What I'm going to do before we do that though is andesite encase this cogwheel just so that it fits a little bit better. And then we can place in our barrel there. I'm going to place in 2 framed glass trapdoors here, and then we can get in our water. So I'm going to waterlog this spot here as well as this one here. And if we remove our item drain, that should make an infinite source without spilling out anywhere. Beautiful. You can then flip those trapdoors up and we're good to go. The final thing for this little build is we're going to place in another barrel with an andesite funnel going into it the same way that we did over here. And there we go. That's our draining system. Now we get in our storage system access point. This is really simple. I'm going to place in a crafting table and a stock ticker with its own network setup. This is not configured to anything right now. We're going to place in a white seat in front of the stock ticker, and this is where our animal's going to go. We can put that in at the end of the video though. On top of our crafting table, we're going to place in our chest, and on top of that, our packager. Our packager, make sure is facing into the chest. I just shift right clicked on top of the chest. We're going to place in a lever on the front of this packager, and we're going to eventually place a frog port on top, but we first need to connect it up to stuff. One thing we totally need to do though is on this side, place a sign that says storage. It can be named storage really on any line. It just has to be spelled the correct way with a capital S. Oh, and if you're not a native English speaker, you could totally switch this to whatever storage is in your language. We're just going to need to make sure we name the frog port the same thing. Now let's get in our fan system. So I'm going to place in a lava on the far left side and then a campfire next to it. And then we're going to do the same thing with water and a soul campfire. Again, if you don't have a soul campfire because you haven't gone on another yet, just don't include it. You don't need it. I obviously haven't because I'm in creative. And then we can place in chutes on top of our trap doors here. On top of these chutes, we're going to place in barrels, and this is where you're going to be putting in your items to be smelted, smoked, washed, or haunted. And then over in this corner, we're going to need to get our staircase upwards. So we're going to be using oak stairs and just an oak plank here to go up and turn. Before we go upstairs though, I want to close off this top layer here with a bunch of andesite casings, and I want to grab our oak stairs and go all the way up with these. I'm going to fill in the back, or I guess the bottom of them, with standard oak planks. I don't think it matters. We shouldn't be able to see them, but just in case, I'm just building it up. We want to go all the way up until we're perfectly in line with our walls here, and that's when you know we are at the right height. We're then going to build in our wall here. It does need to be our interior wall, so we're going to be using spruce planks, of course. We're going to just build that all the way along like so, and again all the way up to the top here. But in these two spots, we're going to place in 2 oak planks, since here is actually going to be our standard floor, and then here is going to be a spruce kind of walkway. To finish off our wall here, we're going to place in trapdoors all the way along it, and you should have something that looks a lot like this. We're then going to come back down here and place in our last little bits of interior walling. So we're going to go spruce planks all the way along here until we reach this spot where we're going to place in a spruce stair on this side and this side. In the center here, we're going to break out a spot for the window, and then we're going to place in spruce trapdoors on either side here and flip them open to, again, create a kind of circular shape. Back here, we're placing in just another spruce plank. And then connected to this spruce stair, we're going to be placing in oak stairs that go all the way along here. And as we walk up the stairs, you can see we have a little gap here. We're going to fill it in with oak planks. And then on top of all of these blocks here, we're going to be placing in just your standard oak planks. Now that that is in, we're going to go around placing in our final row of interior spruce planks. It should fill in this whole top section, including that spot here. And we should have now a little arch around our sawing system. To finish this area off, I'm going to just place a lantern there. I would say we now have most of the interior of the house set up and built, but now we need to get in our second floor and roof to the first floor with some oak slabs. So the remaining area here, you're just going to fill in with oak slabs all the way across. And the reason I'm using oak slabs is to just give a little bit of extra height downstairs. So you can see this increases the height by quite a bit. If we were using full oak planks, it would be a little bit more constricting, maybe a little more homely. You can definitely do this. Let me know down in the comments which one you prefer. Let's, I suppose, do the whole thing. Ooh, honestly, I don't really know. But yeah, I'm going to want you to go all the way to the end here. Obviously, we can't place slabs on this block. Oh, I made a full block? That's how that works? Cool. Didn't know that. But obviously, we can't place a full block here because we have trapdoors. So just go as far as you can, and then we'll have this as our current second floor. Now we can get in our actual storage system. This is going to be a 3x3 by, I actually don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 item vault. This was plenty for me in my Create Sky Colonies world and series. If you haven't seen that, definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun, but we need to build this 6 across, and I was in the way. And basically you want a 3x3 item vault. It should make this kind of shape. And then make sure it fills in all of the oak planks that are between, I guess, this outside wall where the water wheels are and 3 over. Not a great way to explain it. You have eyes, you can see where it is. To all of my blind viewers, good luck, dog. Don't know how you're playing Minecraft, but all for it. All right, next now we need to get in a packager, which is going to be connecting up to our requesting storage system, which is down there. And we need to grab a stock link to put on this thing. In order to actually connect it up to our requesting system, we need to right click down here at the stock ticker with our stock link, and that'll make it turn it into an enchanted looking one. That's when you know it's correct, and when you hold it, it should be like outlining our stock ticker here. With that done, we can head upstairs, and I think I put this on the bottom here, so you might have to break a block to do it. But when you put it on, you should see that this packager turns green. That is good and is exactly what we want. Now we can put in our chain conveyors and chains to connect up this actual storage system to the downstairs with physical items instead of just theory. So as you saw, I put a chain conveyor on top of our stripped spruce log pillar that should be 2 blocks tall from at least the top section, and that was 7 blocks tall. So a chain conveyor up on the top there, and then head downstairs, jump up, do a little bit of parkour, and put the next one here on top of our vertical gearbox. You should have a shaft right there. Place it on top of that. After we've done that, we're gonna grab a chain block. You'll probably need 8 to 16 of those, and right click it on the chain conveyor, come upstairs and hover over the chain conveyor up here, and you should see a green outline occur. Once that happens, right click it here, and you'll see that it now connects. Sometimes, and I don't know why this happens, you'll try to right click the chain and it'll just place it next to it. You just have to get under it properly and try a few more times and it should work. Now you can see we have our chains going through the floor, which is fine. We're barely going to see it, but it basically connects up our storage system to our requesting system, which is exactly what we need. Now we can get in the things that actually connect these two together. Frog ports. So what we're going to do is right click our chain conveyor until, there we go, it turns green. And once that happens, you should see a little green like theory line between where you're planning on placing it down and where you've clicked. When that happens, we want to put our frog port on top of our packager. So right click again, and there we go, it's built in. If you hover over your frog port with a wrench, you can see the green line connecting it to the chain conveyor, which means it's working. We do want to rename this frog port to something descriptive. I'm going to do storage with a capital S. Capitals do matter, so make sure that is correct. You can obviously name this whatever you'd like. You'll just have to change the sign down here to match. Once you've done that, we're going to head down here and also hook up our chain conveyor to this frog port packager system. And the way we do that is, again, by right-clicking. We can do it on the chain. That's what I'm going to do. And then head up here and place it down on top of this packager. We can rename this one as well. I'm going to rename it access point since this is where we are accessing our items. And what I'm going to do now is place down a clipboard that should say, oh, perfect, it already has access point on it. Let's pretend that yours is blank. What you need to do is do the hashtag #. If you're older than #, I couldn't even tell you, but a hashtag and then access point. And then you're also going to do the same thing for storage. Make sure these are spelled the exact same. You don't want to mess those up. This will let us, once we get in our mob, request items to our access point. So let's start placing in our exterior. What we're going to do is go in the front left side of the house. We're going to go up to this oak log block and then skip this one, and place our first oak plank here. The reason for this is because, let's zoom over there, there is a balcony that I'm using spruce planks for that we're obviously going to have to bypass. We're also going to do the same thing on the other side of the balcony. So what we need to do is head over to our strip spruce log, go over 1, 2, so it should be in line with our frog ports here, and place our another oak plank. Next, we're just going to place in oak planks wrapping around the build so that it connects up to the other oak plank. And there we go. That is our outline of our build. Next, let's get in that spruce balcony that I talked about. So we're going to place in full planks of spruce in a 2x2x5 area here. It should basically line up with our oak planks that we placed in before. We're going to do a stairwell kind of wraparound system thing here to kind of frame out that balcony. Later, we are going to, and let's just zoom over here so I can show you, place in fences on top. So it's really simple. Oh, and it looks like I went one too far over on this side. You should start the spruce stairs in line with our oak logs here and go all the way until you reach the end of the spruce planks. We then need a way to get over to this balcony. So what I'm going to do with spruce is build a little pathway all the way along until we get to the end of our spruce planks here, which I'm going to place a spruce stair at. Once those are in, we're going to place in more spruce trapdoors going all the way along so that it fills out this wall. And it should go all the way up to the stair block itself. After those are in, we're going to place in another set of spruce trapdoors all the way on top of these, except for this last block here, since that is going to be part of our wall. So do everything but the last one, flip all of those up, and then we're going to place in 2 more here, just as a little barrier to the stairwell down. Now I suppose let's get in that barrier. So we're going to be placing in oak planks all the way across here. Oh, and it looks like I made a mistake. We actually don't want this spruce trapdoor here either, which is good. We're then going to fill in another row of those, and we're going to do the same thing over on this side, kind of covering up our packager from this side. Let's continue with getting in our walls now. We're going to go over on the right side of the build. So this is this side, just to keep you oriented. We're going to go all the way along with oak planks, skipping a block here, and then placing in our corner one. We're then going to skip another block, go 2 oak planks, and then skip another block, and then go all the way to the end, except for the last 2 here, because this is where our roof is going to start diagonalizing upward. That was a real word. Don't even worry about it. So as I mentioned, the roof is going to be over here, so that's staying low. But then over here, we're also doing the same thing. 2 before the ending bit, we're going to place in some more oak planks. Back over on this side, we're going to place 1, skip 1, 1, skip 1, 1, 2, and then we're going to do that 2 more times on each of them, including this little end piece here. So make sure they're all the same length like so. And then we're going to place in kind of the top corner pieces. So on the left side, we're just placing 2 more oak planks on top of that. And we're doing the same thing on the right side, like so. These are going to be our windows, but this one does look a little weird. We need to add in another oak plank there, just make it a little bit shorter. It should be a 3 tall window in total. Now for this side, we are going to do similar thing here. So on this set of 2 blocks, we're going to build up twice. And then on this one, we're going to go up 2 and place a block there. So it should look something like this. A little weird for right now, but once we get the roof in, I think it'll make sense. Next, we're going to place in our door. So we're going to head up to our oak plank and place our door on this block here. So it should be relatively flush with this plank, but indented in from the outside at least. And then we're going to place in oak planks, making a little ring around the outside here, including the spot over the door. So you should have a new wall system that looks a little bit like this. Oh, I got this part a little bit wrong. We can remove those 2, and we're actually going to build up another set of walls that only this block here goes up to 3, while this one stays 2. I think that's just because we're not going to see whatever's in this block, so we don't really need to have it. The only thing left we need in terms of walls is to come over to this side and place a oak plank there. And there we go. That will have our roof going diagonally upward through there. So now I think it's time to get in our upstairs interior. So what we're going to do is place our bed here so that it ends right before this spruce plank there. We're going to place an item hatch on our item vault like so. And then over on this side, place in a little kind of bedside table thing. We're then right next to the bedside table going to place in 2 granite stairs with a granite slab in between. We're going to place brick blocks behind those granite stairs and a campfire in the middle here. This is our chimney, you can see rising out of there. We're then going to place in polished granite stairs on either side of these brick blocks facing in the middle inward-ish and a granite slab on top. After that, we're just placing in 2 more blocks of granite going upward to kind of notate the chimney. We're then going to grab our stripped spruce logs and just kind of build in this bedroom here. I'm going to build 3 up for now. I don't actually know the height that it needs to go, but we'll do this on both sides here so it kind of blocks in this frog port area and makes it quite a bit more homely. Now's the time where we are going to do the roof. So in order to do this, we are going to grab our Deepslate bricks and go all the way along on the sides of the water wheels and place in Deepslate brick stairs all along our oak planks here. Over on this side here, we're going to just add in an additional oak log and have our stair go 1 over the main wall portion. On this side, we're going to do the same thing, but with a Deepslate brick block instead of a oak log, and you should have kind of the outline that looks similar to this. Now it's time to place in a lot of our Deepslate slabs. These are going to be going in a slightly increasing manner the whole way up. We're going to do a slab at a time. So the way we're doing this is we're placing in a slab, and then placing another slab here and going upward like so. It is really quite simple. It's a slight incline the whole way up, and we are going to keep going until we get to the top here. Once we're here, I'm going to place in 2 more oak planks. I forgot to do those before. And then we're going to grab some spruce fences because we are doing this as kind of window detail. We're going to place in a fence there, fence gate, and another fence here. We can get back to our Deepslate slab placements in the same manner, going 1 up at a time until we reach the top here. It should be hanging over the right side of the build like so, and it should be a full block. Just for your information, the slab staircase should look something like this. You have the slabs cascading up by half a block at a time, all the way up until you reach 1 over the end wall over on this side. This other side is a little bit more challenging, but it makes the same amount of sense. We are still going to do our slab staircase and go up until we reach this block here. So once we've reached this point, we're going to diagonally go inward a little bit and then do the same again. So what I'm going to do actually is put a spruce slab here connected up to this Deepslate brick. This is going to be part of our roof anyway. Once that is in, we can place in 2 more Deepslate slabs diagonally across from this one, but connected to our spruce slab here. And then we're going to go and place in 2 more oak plank blocks here, and actually a temporary one so we can place in our Deepslate brick slab diagonally from this one here. We're then going to place in 2 more Deepslate slabs to make a full Deepslate brick block. We're then going to place in a spruce fence here, and our final Deepslate brick slab over on this side of the house on top of it like so. Then to do this final side of the roof, we're going to place in 3 Deepslate brick slabs here. We're going to do 2 over on the other side. They should be bottom slabs in both cases. And then these both dip inward, which is why, as you can see, our house kind of shape looks like this, because that's what the roof is going to do. So what I would actually recommend is to outline the shape on the wall itself with some spruce. We are going to place a stair and a slab over on top of our window here. And then we're going to place in 2 stripped spruce logs like this. It doesn't have to be exact, it's just building. But with those in, we can now get in some important things like our stairs, slab, and then another stair over on this side. And you should have a dip in that looks a little bit like this. One thing we have to do though to make this look less abrupt is put in some Deepslate here. So what I need to do is over on this front right side, break this slab block and place an upside down stair so that the stair looks kind of like this. And then over on the other side, break this slab here and place in a full Deepslate brick block. And then we can replace that slab. That looks a little bit more uniform here. And now I think we can probably get in the roof. To do the roof, we're first going to set up our chimney because that's the kind of the only part that actually requires placement. And then the rest is just vibes. So for this chimney, we're going to use our granite block here as the center point, and we're going to build a 3x3 kind of tube around this thing. For now, it doesn't really matter what blocks you use. I would definitely recommend doing brick all the way up until granite, which I think is what we have over here as well. Yeah, that's the general theme. And I also wouldn't really worry about what it looks like in here because we're going to be able to remove some of these blocks once we're done building out the roof. So again, the pattern here doesn't really matter. I am just doing random blocks like so. There we go. We're going to build this up a few blocks tall. In this pattern, it's going to be 3 blocks tall in total. And then we'll get into using walls and such to make it look a little bit more chimney-like and not just a cube with cubes in it, I guess. At this point, we're still keeping our cube shape. However, on both of these corners, on the back side of the house, we're going to place in walls now. So again, still a 3x3, but now we're slightly reducing the footprint of this chimney. Once we've done one step of that, we're then going to do it on all 4 sides. And it's at this point where we're going to place in our campfire for the smoke effect. Next, we're going to put in the same amount of walls, except for this back corner here. This one is going to be reduced, and we're going to show that by placing a granite stair here to kind of make it look like it's kind of tapering inward. Once all those are placed in, we're going to place in a spruce trapdoor to limit the amount of smoke so that it's not as constant, and in my opinion, looks a little bit better. And now we're at the top. So for the top bit, we're going to do a stair here, walls on either side, a normal block there, and a slab over here. And in the center, to prevent lightning from blowing you up, we're going to place in our lightning rod. I actually like it when it's upside down, so if you want to do that, you can, but it just needs to be there to attract the lightning to it instead of your wooden house. So there we go. We have our chimney in. Now we can get to the roof itself. In the same way that there isn't really a theme or style or a how-to exactly on how to build the roof as we did with the walls here, I am going to time-lapse this and walk you through how I'm doing it. The main requirements is that it follows this gradual incline here, and you build it around the item vault so that you don't just have item vault bits sticking out, because that looks stupid. What I've done over at our main house is make a little bit of a bulge over on the front bit to hide that item vault, and it doesn't really look that noticeable. So as long as you're building, I would say, flat things here, so maybe like a slab or two in the middle and then back to trapdoors, it'll look pretty okay. But yeah, let's get into a quick time lapse where I build up the roof here, and then we can get back to the interior of this second floor. So in this roof design, as I said, our goal is to be in line with our Deepslate outer layer and just cover up the item vault. You can see I'm doing this with taller blocks in the center area that then taper off into stairs, slabs, sometimes even trapdoors on the outside. Once we get up to the chimney, it is relatively easy to just keep it steady and flat. And as we get to the ending bit where it kind of dips in the middle, I'm doing kind of the opposite of what we did with the item vault, making it lower in the center and taller on the sides. So now our roof is in and the build looks something like this. Yours should hopefully look similar. You can definitely slow down that time lapse if you need to. And honestly, some of the things I'd actually like to change, like this, make it a slab, easy peasy. And over here, I don't know why I don't have some bits that like taper it off. You can always add and change stuff. Don't get too into the weeds, because I bet you didn't even realize that that was a problem in my mind, and neither will anyone else. So as long as it looks good to you, that's kind of all that matters. Now though, let's get on to the inside where we can fix up our chimney, since we don't need all of these big, huge blocks in the way here. You can see we do actually need that granite block, but I want you to break out any block that isn't seen by the outside world, since we don't actually need it, like whatsoever. I was able to break this whole layer here. Obviously, you're going to want to keep the middle through, but now it looks a little stupid. So I think it's time to put in a roof on the inside here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to first fill in the slab, or actually, shoot, real block. But what we're going to do is on this block here, we're going to place in our spruce slab roof, going all the way along, and have it slowly increase as we get to the back of the build. Then when we get to here, we can, there we go, have that, and it should look something like this. For your bits that are back here, I actually like what I have going on right now. Since I'm using these stripped spruce logs for our outside anyway, I'm just going to continue that along. You don't have to do this. What I would recommend instead of this, if you'd rather, is just normal spruce planks, slabs, or stairs, and that'll look fine as well. Something else I would recommend for around the fireplace is to put stairs here and here, just so that it kind of meshes into the walls a little bit. But with that, I think our upper floor is pretty good. We can get into final little decoration pieces, basically just a flower and a flower pot right here at the very end. If you want, you can put that down now. But I think what it's actually time for is putting in our windows. So any of the holes that we have on the second floor, throw in. I like white glass panes, but honestly, if you have a preferred pane color, that works. Oh, another thing, I fully forgot about this. Make sure this strip spruce log pillar goes all the way up to the top, just so that it doesn't look stupid and ugly. But let's continue putting windows in. I'm going to do these down here as well. So all the way around there and in this spot as well. So there's 2 windows downstairs, and then, I mean, you could see all the ones upstairs. They're pretty obvious. And now the build functionally will house you and is done. It looks really stupid from this angle right now. Wow. I can't believe it looks that dumb. So I think, unfortunately, now we got to work on the outside. So I'm going to start our outside building with some structural supports. We're going to come over to this side of the house and go all the way to the back oak plank, or oak log, sorry, and go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the center, where we're going to place another oak log here. We are, of course, going to build this oak log all the way up to the granite line that we have, and then we're going to run over to the front side and do the same thing over here right next to our doorway, and it should go all the way up until our spruce stair. Speaking of the spruce stair, actually, I made a mistake. We need to remove this and instead grab ourselves an oak stair, plopping it one below where our spruce stair would have been, and then come up to our balcony here and break this deep slate brick and do stripped spruce logs all the way up to the top so that it looks like this. So I coincidentally built my roof with a stripped spruce log here. If you don't have that here, you're going to have to remove it because we're going to be building another stripped spruce log pillar going up in this spot as well. I'm going to put a spruce fence gate that is open underneath this block here, as well as one here. This just makes it so that it looks more supported a little bit, at least from afar. And then we're going to do a similar spruce pillar over here, where we get another oak stair to the right of our oak log pillar, and then grab some more spruce planks, building all the way up until you reach the corner here. You can see we have a fence here, but nothing connected to it. That is because we need to put those in. So put in fences all the way down to our balcony area, and then let's also build a fence around our balcony. I've actually done this with oak fences, and I do think that looks better. I think it's a better dichotomy, so let's do that again. So our balcony should actually be mostly completed and look something like this. Next, we're gonna get in our sheep pen, so we're gonna come over to the right side again, go to the right 2, and place in our first spruce fence. We're going to go 2 spruce fences, spruce fence gate, back to spruce fence, and then 1 more spruce fence for symmetry, and then go all the way along with a bunch of fences until you reach the ending oak log, and you're just going to match the same thing we have over on that side. Obviously, this looks stupid without a little awning, so we're going to set that up with some more spruce fences going upward in both of the corners, and then we're going to place in spruce slabs on top of these going all the way across. Next, we're going to need to go diagonally upward, and you might need to do that to get there, but then we're going to place in some more slabs going across. And then, you wouldn't believe it, more slabs going across back the other way. And we're going to do this until we reach the endpoint. The endpoint actually being here in line with these blocks and our oak log here, since we're going to do something a little different once we get up to this point. Before we get to that though, I'm going to place in a bunch of oak trapdoors going along this second line and also the 4th, since those are the only ones we can do it on. If we did it here, boom, stupid. And then let's do our top little area here. So I said we were going to do something different. It's still slabs, but some of it is full spruce planks and stripped spruce logs. Let's get in our spruce logs first. To do this, we're going to place in an oak stair, 1 down from the top of this oak log, and then get stripped spruce logs going all the way up to the top like that. We're going to do the same thing with spruce logs going all the way up from our oak log centerpiece as well. And then we're going to get in our spruce planks. So what I'm going to do is place spruce planks here, skip this block, and then here and here as well. And then fill in some spruce slabs. So we're doing this as a little kind of windowsill, and then slabs here, here, here. So now we're going to get in our window details. We're going to put 2 windowsills on both of these windows here. Grab our fences and go all the way down here, and then grab 2 fence gates, open them both up like so. We're then going to come over here and do fences all the way down, fences all the way down here, and a fence gate in the center that is open. I do officially want to get in our flowers, so put 2 flower pots down on either of these windows and just put it in any flower that you wish. This is the finished product of our wall here, but I want to put in just some buttons to make it look a little better. Grab your spruce buttons and put them on some of the spruce pillars, just willy-nilly like. And then you can put some on the oak as well, just for a little bit of depth. And then honestly, I think we're pretty good here. Let's head down to the bottom where we have to put in some oak trapdoors on the underside here. Anywhere that it'll work, that's one. And I think this is one, yep. So in those 2 spots, build them all the way across. We could do them here, but honestly, I think this looks a little weird. So I'm not going to. If you want to, be my guest. I guess it's also probably a worthwhile thing to make sure this is all grass and not have a bunch of holes. Let's also decorate. So I'm going to throw in just some spruce buttons, stone buttons, hello, and then some spruce ones on our pillars. Buttons are my favorite detailing bit because they're so easy and make it look astonishingly good. I'm gonna be so honest. Like, it helps out the build so much. It's crazy. All right, now moving on to the front. What I would probably say is the second hardest. The hardest is gonna be this, but the second hardest, and by second hardest, I mean, wow, that's easy. Okay, never mind. I'm just lying to you, point blank. Let's put in our buttons now, since we already have them in our inventory. I'm just gonna throw spruce and oak buttons around on these pillars. We can put some spruce on this and some stone. Beautiful. So for our decorations here, we're gonna place in grass, just surrounded by some oak trapdoors to give a flower bed sort of vibe, as well as right here as well. I've said as well so many times. Oh, we need a door, so maybe I would recommend putting that in probably. Door. Easy. Okay, and then put in flowers. I really like our two tall bushes and our sweet berries just for additional color, but you can kind of do whatever you want. I'm going to do blue over here, I've decided. So we're going to start this by placing in spruce slabs going all the way across, omitting this block, and instead putting a grass block there. That's going to just be a little bit of flower for some color in that area, because otherwise it's just brown. You can add in that flower now, actually. I'm just going to throw in a pink tulip. It literally doesn't matter. We're going to put an arch underneath these slabs here. So let's get 2 stairs and 2 trapdoors, placing them like so, and then trapdoors up top as well. We're then going to place in more slabs going all the way across. I think now we're going all the way in line with our oak logs here, and more spruce trapdoors on those. Oh, I actually lied to you about this top layer. This should be spruce trapdoors, and it should look something like this. Then we can place in more spruce slabs going down, and then a final level of spruce slabs going across like so. There you go. So you should have an awning that looks something like this. From here, go down with oak fences to as low as you need to go. Before you reach the bottom, however, get in some brick or granite walls and put them underneath our oak fences. So I'm doing a 3 on this side, 2 on this side of look, just so it's a little bit asymmetrical. I think that looks a little bit better. You don't need to do that. You can do whatever you want. Now let's get on to this left side of the build here. We are going to go 2 back from our oak log here and place in any old stair, whether it be brick, granite, or polished granite, doesn't really matter. And then we're going to go around our water wheels until we reach one before the center of our water wheels, where we're going to be placing in blocks. So the reason for this is because we're going to connect up our large water wheel to a little bit of a thing. So let's also do it here. Place in bricks or really whatever, but I'm doing bricks. And then grab yourself a spruce fence, place them here, and then grab andesite casing, put it there. This should already be an andesite encased shaft. Then we're gonna place in a little patio. So grab some granite, polished granite, whatever else you wanna use, and make a little patio. The dimensions of this patio should be from this wall, 5 blocks to the left, technically, because we're looking at the house from this direction. So 5 to the left, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks backwards inclusive. So I'm going to be placing from this block here 1, 2, 3, and then a 4th in total. So it should be a 5 by 5 little cube here. You can see I've added in another block here. That's because it's going to be a little bit asymmetrical, but that's fine. Sweet. Once this patio's in, I would probably recommend doing a little bit of terraforming and terraining. But before you do that, it's probably worth doing a little bit of slabbing and stairing just to make it easily accessible for someone that doesn't like to press the spacebar. So I now have a stair kind of perimeter with slabs being on kind of the corners areas, and we have something that looks quite a bit like this. Now's about the time I would recommend terraining just to make it look a little bit better. A floating platform is nothing that we would want to see. And there we go. No longer floating. I'm also going to fill in these grass holes. I don't know how those have shown up, but that's fine. And I think we're also able to now put in our water. I'm going to put in water right here. That goes straight into a hole. Incredible. Well, if you have any holes here, make sure you fill them in. It looks like I have put one there by accident. How have you done this? Okay, hold on. You might need to, let's break both of those. You might need to, if the game hates you like it does hate me, we might need to put in slabs in this spot and this one, just to avoid the water from flowing in weird directions. So let's put water sources here, and then we could put, how have you done this? Okay, a water source here, that'll flow this way. We can do one here as well. and those will both now flow in the correct directions. We can then put back our large water wheels. They should start moving if they are spinning both in the same direction and you've done everything correctly up until this point. We should also see that as those are spinning, that our inside is also going, and everything except for the millstone is spinning. Perfect. This is great. We should also see our chain conveyor is spinning. Honestly, I think you can now check to see if our storage is working. To use our storage, we just need to put an item in here and then power this lever so our frog port turns on, and we should see, perfect, items are in our item vault. We still don't have our mob in the seat, so we can't actually access our items anymore, so hopefully you didn't put anything important in there. If you did, just go get a mob and place them here, like a chicken would work. We will want a canopy for our little patio here, and I'm going to start it off with some granite walls, and then switch over to spruce to build it up to a 3-block total height. From there, I'm going to connect our spruce pillars with some spruce fence gates, and then I'm also going to connect those to our walls. It's a little bit of a pain to do, but you can manage. And we should now have a little enclosing like so. Now let's get in our patio roof. We are going to be using campfires for this because campfires are actually really fun. And just leave a little bit of a gap in the center for not campfires. The way you put out campfires, you can either use a water bucket or any shovel just by right clicking. I'm going to do the shovel method. It's way easier, less prone to errors, and kind of fun. And then we can put in our remaining campfires over here, shovel those out, and then let's grab some spruce bits and just put some stuff. This is just to get a little bit of difference in the center here, and then underneath we can put in some trapdoors just to make it look a little bit better. Now we can put in some decoration and also some functional blocks. So let's put a pile of barrels over here. In the center we can put a grindstone smithing smithing table and an anvil. We'll put a lantern on top of our table, and then I want to place some looms because they look really cool, even though they are useless. So let's put a loom, note block, another loom, and a trapdoor on this side of the note block. And there we go. Cool little enclosed-ish balcony area. Now we're on to the back side of the build. This is probably the most complicated one. I know I've said that for everyone so far, but each time I'm like, dang, this is harder than it looks. Or maybe it just looks hard and it's easier. Who knows? First thing I want to do is get in some of our big shapes. So actually, we need to remove this top oak log and then replace it with a sideways one going all the way across at the level of our granite here. Next, we're going to be placing in our enchantment table. So go to the left of the back of the house. So this would be the right of the house if you're looking at it from the front, but that's not a big deal. Go to the side of the house and go 2 blocks in and 2 blocks forward and place down our enchanting table. We're going to place in bookshelves, I think up to there, and then make it a little bit taller so it looks cool. And there we go. It should be, including the oak log, 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks of books, since we did put them back there. This isn't going to give us level 30 enchants though, so we do need to, let's add one there and then add a few more over on this side as well. So this should be 2 over on this side, and then this remaining layout for the rest of the bookshelves. I'm going to place an anvil and a grindstone there so that you can obviously enchant, combine, disenchant, all that fun stuff. And then we can get to the canopy that's going over this, because if it's raining, our books are going to get wet and we don't want that. So we're going to place in 2 walls here. This one on the end is going to be 1 further out than our anvil here. And then I'm going to use oak fences to get it up to 3 blocks tall in total. We're going to place in spruce trapdoors, somehow I missed, all the way across to our other one. And then we're going to place slabs on the inside of these. This is a little bit boring to look at though, so let's place some trapdoors underneath so that it's a little bit of a down hang again. And then we need to place in more slabs diagonally up from the ones we just built, going all the way across. And then finally, trapdoors. This top part is now boring, so instead of just leaving it like this, we're going to grab our campfires and put those all the way across, and then turn them off with a shovel. While we're up here, let's get the details on these windows. First, we're going to place in just a stripped spruce log pillar in the middle to separate the two. We're going to place in spruce fences on either side here. We're going to do the same thing over on this side of this window. And then we're going to place in more campfires, 4 in total, all the way across like this. I'm then going to get in a little light system for our crops that are going to be down below in a second. So place in your spruce fence gate, kind of, I guess, 2 away from that tall oak pillar, spruce fence, and then we'll get in the light in a second, but first we need to finish off these 2 windows. At the moment, we don't have a lot of color, so let's change that by adding 2 spruce slabs, and then getting our flower pots, putting both of them on here, and filling these with whatever flowers you want to use. The last step of this process is buttons. So just place buttons wherever you think they'll fit, and then we can head back down to the bottom. Down at the bottom, we're placing in a lantern on top of, or I guess underneath, that spruce fence post so that it hangs over this area here. Next, let's get in our crop farm. So we're gonna hoe a 4x4 area here, and it's literally already unhoeing itself. And then we're gonna go waterlog. Let's waterlog that. Sure. That doesn't look stupid, I bet. I bet it's fine. If you don't want that there, and honestly, now that I'm looking at it, I kind of don't. Let's put some andesite casing there, and instead we can waterlog underneath our bookshelf here. So let's put water there, and we can build a stair block, if I'm good at it, facing upwards so you don't even see it. We can then get it in our seeds, and honestly that'll probably block the view anyway. Let's get in a few more supporting blocks here. So we're gonna place in our oak fence gate facing out so it kind of smooths that curve. And then we're back to buttons. So place in buttons wherever you like. I'm gonna place 1 or 2 on this granite wall. Let's put another one. Nah, that's a little too close. One other one there. And then some more buttons over on this side as well. We should be just about good. I want to add in another one of our flower beds over on this side. I am gonna use sweet berries for both of these spots because it's such a nice block. And then to make sure those sweet berries grow, we're gonna place in another lantern here that starts at this block, goes out and down. Beautiful. Let's run around putting in some more lanterns wherever it's dark. It might be best to do this at night if you have the ability to. I'm going to place it actually one up. So you can definitely remove buttons if you wish. We can do another final pass of buttons eventually. I want to put one in here so that it kind of lights up our entranceway. One over on this side as well. And there we go. I think that's enough light around the area. Obviously, when it's nighttime, you can check it out again, add anything new that you'd wish. I do still want to get in maybe some more buttons, maybe up here. That would look nice. We need to place in over on this side our oak stairs. And then I want oak fence gates all the way along and then open them all up. It's a little detail, but I think it does add quite a bit to the side. One more thing over on this side is I did not add in some spruce fence gates. I kind of like the look of them being open. If you don't, you can always close them or remove them, but I think that's a really nice touch. I think that is our build done. The very, very final thing we need to do to make sure everything's working is get an animal. So grab yourself a lead and find a willing victim. I used a pig in the tutorial before for the schematic cannon. Let's grab a chicken. No, I want a cow. You're coming with me, you good sir. Brilliant. In order to get him in, you might need to break this door. I'm going to just do that preemptively and then push him. Push him. I did pick the largest animal. This was probably a mistake. Oh, nice. He's got a hat. That means it's working. If you right click on him, you should see all of the items that are in your large item vault. Now, if we wanted to request this, we need to set a package address first. It should show up with the access point and storage ones that we set on this clipboard earlier. That's why we have this little package icon and we did the hashtag before. You obviously want to send it to access point or whatever you named this frog port because that's where we want to send the items to. So let's request a stack of large water wheels. We should see and make sure this lever is off because when it's off, that kind of means request mode, and when it's on, it means send mode. So we should see, perfect, it gets picked up, put it in the packager, and pops in our chest. There we go. Isn't that great, Gerald? Gerald, did I build a good house? I don't know if Jared can hear. It's Gerald, not Jared. Jared's a different cow, I guess, probably. Well, that's gonna do it for this build tutorial and kind of, I guess, build showcase for a pretty simple to make, honestly. Like this is a complex and good looking house with all of the Create components that we built in what? Like an hour? Pretty darn good, and I hope you all enjoyed the build. I hope you like the style of it, like all the functionality inside of it, packed into a very, very tight space, while still looking probably a little okay. This bottom space could use some work, but it's just chock full with stuff. Oh, and I guess if you want flowers, now you're gonna get a pollen allergy. Good luck, loser. But yeah, I think this turned out really, really well. I hope you all enjoyed it and liked it. Let me know down in the comments if you're looking for any other like beginner level create contraptions or stuff, and I might eventually get to them. It took me, what, 5 months to build this? So it'll be slow. Unless it's a good idea, then it'll be fast. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.